Joan Herman, and this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Thanks for joining me today. Our guest today is Roger Mooking, host and creator of the cooking channel show Everyday Exotic. He's an award-winning chef who has hailed one of the country's best, and he's been the subject of numerous television and print features both nationally and internationally. Roger owns 2 restaurants and has a music career with a CD entitled Soul Food. Roger, I am worn out just talking about what you do. When I was reading your bio, I found for some reason that it exuded this amazing energy. You have so many incredible things going on. How on earth do you get it all done?
Well, first, there's a great team of people around, and everybody's really motivated by all the ideas and all the things that we're doing. So that definitely is one big component of making it all possible. But, you have to inspire people, and it's inspiring that team is just driven by, what I love to do and my passion for it and spreading that passion, and it becomes infectious, and before long, there's all these people around who are really passionate about it and helping to tell the story, and then I just got to show up,
It makes it easy that way.
Yeah, no, it's good, and then I can have fun, right?
Absolutely. How did your career begin? Did you always know that you wanted to be a chef?
Yeah, from 3 years old I knew. You go around asking kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you kind of vibing them up. So my aunt asked me that when I was 3, and I said, without a blink, I want to be a chef. Mm-hmm. And they all kind of laughed at me like, oh, my God, what does this little 3-year-old kid know about what he wants to do in life? Mm-hmm. But here I am today, and it seems to be working out.
Did you find yourself helping out a lot in the kitchen growing up?
Yeah, I really gravitated towards the kitchen. I don't think my home was unlike many homes where the kitchen was the cultural hub of the household. Right. So I kind of just gravitated to that, and I was really intrigued with being able to learn and share and partake of that process. And here we are today, and it's a never-ending process.
Well, as growing up as an Italian, I can personally attest to the kitchen being the heart of the home.
Yeah, I bet, for sure.
When did you open your first restaurant?
6 years ago.
And what made you decide to do a second?
It just felt right. We found a really great space and a really great area, and we had a concept that was floating around our heads for a little while, and we thought that we could bring it to life. So off we went into the madness once again.
Well, I love the concept of your show, Everyday Exotic, which airs every Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Cooking Channel. And I love what you do when you take one ingredient or one exotic ingredient and you add that to a basic type recipe, and in doing so, you change everything. And that's the premise of what we try to do here with this show. We try to tell people if you change one thing, it's amazing the result that you can get. So how did you come up with this concept of doing this type of show?
Well, I worked with the Food Network in Canada pretty closely back and forth trying to create different ideas and concepts that, kind of fit what they were looking for and also fit what I felt really passionate about. And so after a few different iterations, we kind of stumbled upon this idea, and everybody immediately felt really great about it, and everybody was so motivated, and it worked for everybody. And, I could tell passionate stories that were just my stories, and people really seem to gravitate towards it, and it's been doing really well all over the world, Everyday Exotic, so we've been fortunate.
I like the concept of what you do, and I have to ask, when you come up with these recipes, what motivates you? I mean, are you just in a kitchen and you say, let me take this and try throwing this in? Is it a lot of trial and error, or is it like a mad scientist type approach? I would assume you have a lot of fun with this.
Oh, my gosh, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, for example, in doing research for the show, and as I said, I'm Italian, I saw you have this recipe for lasagna, and you add something called rapini. So what would have inspired you to say, let me give a rapini a try in lasagna?
Well, one thing I wanted to try and do was, show people how to make pasta from scratch. Okay. And lasagna was a good opportunity to be able to do that. Another thing was, I wanted to make sure that there's good vegetarian options out there. Right. Because, we can all eat some vegetarian every now and then. It's not going to hurt us, right?
Absolutely.
So I wanted to get some really good vegetarian options that weren't just token vegetarian items. And this was one thing that really was interesting, and I got to show how to make pasta and kind of take a little familiar yet unfamiliar twist on something that kind of was very pervasive in North America, right?
And so I would assume most people don't understand that. You're really trying to educate, and it's not just let me cook something. You have a mission and a goal with everything that you put together.
Yeah, food is one of those great communicators of people. I don't need to know your language. I don't need to know your background. I don't need to know your history or your family's history. But I could put a smile on your face without expressing any words to you through food. And to me, that's a magical, magical pixie dust, right? So for me, it's really about, sharing ideas and opening the doors of the world so we can all understand each other a little bit better and with a little bit more ease, and we get to eat some good food along the way. Like, it can't be a bad thing.
Is that where your motto, feed the body, feed the soul, comes from?
Well, it's kind of a twofold thing, because as much as it may seem like an esoteric concept, it's also very tactile, too, because I come from a music background and creating music, and I've done quite well in Canada with doing that as well as being a chef. So it allowed me to kind of pull some of the madness out of my brain and put it down on paper and in songs and in a format that can bridge both worlds that I live in with the food and the music side that people can walk away with tangibly, right?
You say that it all comes down to the soul. What does that mean to you?
Like when I think of soul food or the soul and the spirit, it's what guides us inside. I believe we all have an intuition, Right. You walk into a room, you get a bad feeling, and I think oftentimes we kind of downplay the value of that intuition. But, when you start to pay attention to that intuition and see what feels right and what's good for you, that's, something's talking to you and something is drawing you or drawing you away from a situation for a certain reason. And the same things happen in the kitchen, it's like instinct. I think this might be good with this. Let me try it out. And you get to kind of create your own soul food that way.
Has your intuition guided your career so far?
Yeah, I make a lot of really bad business decisions because I follow first with my heart and my intuition. And, it's about people, and you can make pounds of money and be horrible to people, or you can do things that you're really passionate about and be good to people around you, and, hopefully goodwill spreads, and it seems to be working at the moment. So, I just want to, food is love. I want to spread love.
And would you say that that's how food impacts our life, through love?
It's one of the things. Some people will say it's purely nourishment. An athlete may say it's going to help me build muscles so I can run faster. A chef may say it's their way to express creativity. Engineer may say, I just need the food in my body so my brain can work and I can do the mathematics I got to do, right? So for everybody, there's a different point of contact. But one thing with food is it's pervasive because it's a necessity. It's a primal necessity, and no one can get around it. So that's what makes it interesting to me, and how different people interact with it in their lives or in their lifestyle is what makes it like truly engaging.
But I have to ask you, how on earth did a chef become a recording musician?
Well, I knew from 3 years old I wanted to be a chef. When I was 14, and my family, my grandfather owned restaurants and bakeries. My aunts and uncles own restaurants and bakeries to this day. My father had a restaurant for 20 years, and now I'm in the restaurant industry. And so it kind of is part of our family's history. But when I was 14, I started working in restaurants professionally, and I would take all my money in on the weekends and go to the recording studio just for fun. And people said I was good at it, so I kept doing it, and I started to kind of develop my crafts in both the culinary side as well as the studio and recording and writing songs. And I've just done those simultaneously throughout my life, and sometimes one kind of overtook the other and vice versa. But here I am, managed to kind of meld both into one planet, and it feels like just magic to me because, I get to do what I love every day.
You get to live your dream.
Oh, my God, it's like such a blessing,
Roger, tell us a little bit about the type of music that's on this CD, Soul Food.
Well, it may seem like a stretch, but I like to think it's soul music, But like playing with the genres of soul, because I think, Katie Lang is as soulful as Kanye West can be. Beyonce is as soulful as, Willie Nelson is like soul music to me. It's just in a different package, right?
Right.
So I look at it like we're trying to create soul music in different genres. So there's ballad soul, there's funk soul, there's hip-hop soul, and just kind of bridging the gap of all those genres to, it's kind of like what I do with the food in the kitchen. I kind of mix all kind of different cultures and histories and backgrounds and come up with new dishes, and it's very similar to what I did with that CD, and it is really fun making it, and I got to express myself in ways unlike I think other chefs are able to do, right?
Have you worked any of the music from your CD into your television show yet?
Yeah, all of the music on my show I created with my partner, but also the theme song of Everyday Exotic is one of the songs on the Soul Food CD. So people seem to really like that one.
Roger, it's early December now, and this is a time of year when people start talking about what their menus are going to be for the holidays, and they're having parties. And do you have any suggestions on how people can spice up their holiday cooking?
Well, I think people are very traditional when it comes to their holiday meals. They've been doing certain traditions for many, many years. So, I'm not really interested in messing with that, but get me at the leftovers, right? Because there's always a ton of leftover turkey. So what I like to do is I take some spices, some coriander seed, fennel seed, maybe some cilantro, some caramelized onions, garlic, make a little paste, sort of like a pulled pork sandwich, but pulled turkey, and you mix that with your turkey leftovers, and you have an amazing, amazing sandwich that's almost better the next day,
Well, Roger, we have a magazine for this show. We're going to have to get that recipe and put it in our December issue for our listeners.
All right, cool. Yeah, I got that one all loaded up and ready to go.
Okay, great. We're going to hold you to that.
All right.
I'm Italian, and on Christmas Eve, we traditionally serve fish. Do you have any suggestions for a good fish dish that we can try?
Good fish dish. Like Christmas-specific fish dish or fish dish in general?
Well, we do so many. A fish dish in general would be great.
Yeah, one thing I really like to do is on an upcoming episode of Everyday Exotic, you're going to see I made sort of like a shepherd's pie, but it's a seafood stew. So there's some tilapia in there, there's some shrimp in there, there's some vegetables, and we top it with mashed potatoes, like how you do shepherd's pie, and bake it in the oven, and make a tarragon bechamel as a sauce to go inside of it. So that's one really interesting one. Another thing I like to do a lot is steam fish. Wrap it up in a bamboo leaf with some herbs and some carrots and celery and maybe some ground fennel seeds, a little bit of chilies, and you just wrap it up and steam it for about 7 minutes, and you're off to the races, and it's super healthy.
Is there a place where our listeners can get some of these recipes?
Yeah, you can go to rogermooking.com/recipes. There's a bunch there. If you're looking for Everyday Exotic specific recipes, you can go to cookingchanneltv.com and poke around for Everyday Exotic, and there's all the recipes are listed on the website as well.
Roger, if you had to say, what would be the most common mistakes that people make in the kitchen?
One thing they do, two things I find actually, is they under-season food. Taste your food and season it. Salt and pepper at the end, no matter what kind of ingredients you put in there, will help boost all of the flavors. Aside from that, also, I think people also turn up their stove on high heat because they think if I put it all on just high heat, it'll cook faster, which is not always the case. So, often you'll burn it before everything is fully cooked. So learn how to moderate the temperature for whatever particular recipe, and your cooking will go to another level.
And how about some tips for healthy eating? What would you say to our listeners if they're trying to change their diet to incorporate a better, healthier eating style?
Well, I think beginning is the transition. It's hard to just make a grand leap and a shift in your lifestyle. So I think it's about a gradual change. And as my grandmother says, all things in moderation. So if you're like going overboard with one thing, try and moderate that and start to introduce other options into your lifestyle and into your menu and into the food you're preparing. And before long, if you're starting to like those, you'll start to go farther down that trajectory. And before you know it, you'll be like Jack Palance,
Roger, it's been a pleasure having you here. I look forward to watching your show. As I said, during my research, your recipes are incredible. I can't wait to make the lasagna with rapini.
Wait.
I'll send some over for you to taste. You can critique it for me.
All right.
But as always, it's wonderful to have you here. This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.